What's up everyone, Fritz here again with another episode of Sneakerhead Ambition, and today I'm going to be covering a topic that a lot of people in the sneaker botting community definitely need to understand, and that's going to be servers and how to best utilize them when sneaker botting. Just starting off, I want to kind of touch on the fact that if you are starting off botting, right, if you are just getting into botting and are running one bot, the odds of you needing a server are highly unlikely. I will go over the reasons why you should or should not get a server, but I just want to make that clear off the bat that it's not a necessity to start botting, right? It's definitely going to help you in certain situations and with certain setups, but like I said, I'll cover that more in depth coming up. If you've watched any of my other videos, I really do try to break things down in a coherent narrative, not just ramble at you for 20 minutes and then say go try it. So I am going to go over why, how, and what today, right? So why you need a server, what your options are, right? So you could do 24/7, hourly, we'll get into that. And then also how at the end, I'm going to give an on-screen tutorial of how to set up an AWS server. I'm not going to cover every type of server you could get, but I will give you the AWS tutorial since that's one that I use with success a lot, and a lot of other people I know use them regularly. So that's what we'll be covering today. If you really are new to the space and you hear the word server and you just kind of like nod your head like you know what it is, I know that 2 or 3 years ago when I started botting, I had no clue what a server was. I'd hear it on the news, I'd hear it about in certain cases, and I was like, okay, I know what that is. I didn't really know what it was. Basically, a server is going to be a computer that is housed in a different location that you can access remotely from your computer. So essentially, if I have a server on the screen behind me, it's going to look exactly like my desktop, but usually they're located in New York or Virginia, and you're essentially going to have access to another computer that is more often than not going to be way more powerful than your actual PC. So it does give you more power, it gives you more options. So if your PC isn't that great and you're trying to run multiple bots, this is how you can still do it from your PC without having to get a more amped up PC or do anything like that. As far as the servers that you're going to be selecting from, the two main types that you're going to be selecting from are going to be 24/7. So there are companies that offer you a 24/7 server, meaning that you pay for it up front each month and you have access to it 24/7 for the entire month. There are obvious benefits to that, right, that I'll get in shortly. But the other option is also an hourly server. So again, you could go with Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. I use Amazon Web Services, AWS, and that's my best bet. I've had more success with them than the other two that I mentioned. But those are your two options. So you're looking at 24/7 or hourly. All right, so a quick overview on kind of what your options are, and now we'll get into why you need one. All right, now we'll get into why you need a sneaker server, and I just want to reiterate again, this is not a necessity if you are just starting off. So I'm going to go over right now the main reasons why you would need a server and the main reasons why you could maybe avoid one if that's going to be your option. I am big on you all trying to save money when you are starting off with this, right? It is not a good idea to just buy everything up front without doing any research, without trying anything, without a rental. So I would not recommend that you just go out and get a server. Really listen to this portion of the video and just kind of see where you fall in the descriptions that I give about when and why you should maybe get a server. All right, so two things real quick. If you are botting Shopify, right, you don't need a server. If you're botting Shopify, oftentimes it's better to use your home IP address because it's your house, very legit IP. That's always a good idea. So if you're botting Shopify, you really don't need to get into servers much. I mean, if you really scale up your business and you're running massive restock with hundreds of tasks, that's a little different. I'm not really referring to that now, but if you're just starting off and you're trying to hit Shopify, really don't get a server yet, right? You don't need one. You're oftentimes, like I said, better off with your home IP, run some resis. It's not gonna be that many tasks, so I wouldn't recommend getting a server if that's really what you're doing. Footsize, Yeezy Supply. These are the ones these are the type of drops where some people are running thousands of tasks. You obviously can't necessarily do that if you have a low-grade PC, but that is fine because you shouldn't be doing that if that's your first time running. You should be running like 50, 100, 150 tasks with one bot, right? You don't want to overwhelm yourself. You need to learn in a stepwise fashion, right? So just remember that if you're running like one bot with 150 tasks, you don't really need a server for that. It could help, but I would argue that that's really not the best allocation of your resources at that time. So again, Shopify or one bot with not that many tasks, those are both situations that you can definitely get away with not having a server and eliminating that expense. So per usual, I really am trying to steer you all away from some of the mistakes that I make and I see other people make all the time. And I will be honest, the first 4 or 5 months that I was doing this 2 or 3 years ago, I probably lost $500, $600, $700 on the server that I didn't need, right? I was still trying to set up the bot and get my captchas to work. let alone hit in pairs. So you do need to remember that like this isn't necessary off the bat, like I've tried to say many times, but it really is tempting to see these people talking about servers and how this is gonna help you hit. But if you think you're gonna hit 50, 100 pairs on a server when you're not hitting more than a pair ever on your home PC, I'm just gonna be honest, that's delusional. So just try to scale in appropriately, right? And if you start hitting on your PC regularly, there's nothing wrong then with scaling up because you've accomplished what you were trying to do at the start. You got the bot down, you hit some pairs. Then it's time to scale. But people oftentimes try to scale way too quickly. And again, the expenses rack up quickly, especially if you're funneling them into a drop and continuing to hit nothing, right? You can really mitigate that loss by not running so many tasks when you don't know what you're doing. So again, just start where you are with what you have. As far as which server you should get when you make that decision that you're ready for one, the 24/7 and the hourly server obviously have different strengths and weaknesses, so I'm gonna cover those now. So the main benefit with the 24/7 server, obviously it's baked into the name, is the fact that you have access to this 24/7 for the month. Like I said, you pay up front, and then you can just do what you please with it for that month. You can upload your Discord on there, and you can also have your bots set up and ready to roll. The biggest case where this is gonna come in handy is when we have restocks or unannounced drops, or drops where you have like 2-3 minutes to get everything set up. If you're using an hourly server, and again, I know some of you might know this, it takes a little bit or a couple minutes to get it up and running. And then you've got to get your bot key back on there. So there is more to do. And to be honest, if you've watched any of my videos on restocks, if you're not ready to roll the second it hits, it's almost pointless at that time. So just remember that the big benefit of this is not necessarily on drops that you know are coming, that we have a scheduled time for. It's really going to be for things that you don't know are coming or restocks, right? If you know that the drop is at 9 a.m., you don't need a 24/7 server. You can set your bot up the night before in about an hour or so, right? Turn it off and then turn it back on the next morning. So again, that's really the big reason for the 24/7 server, and I didn't really get that when I started off. I just got it because I thought it would be better than AWS, but it's not necessary, right, at that point. So just know that's the big benefit you're gonna get over an AWS server that's hourly. Now, I do wanna do a plug for servers, right, 24/7 servers. If you have a bot that has automations, right, so I've got Valor, I can set up automations on there, this can pay for itself rather quickly, right? So Footsize often, just restock at random times early in the morning. You might not be at your PC, but if you are starting to scale up and you're getting to a point where like you can hit initial and you're trying to hit more restocks, this can be a very useful tool because obviously we're not at our computer all the time and that can still hit for you. So again, once you've gotten to the appropriate level, this sort of product makes a lot of sense, but just really try to be objective about where you are and whether or not you actually need it. So again, it's pretty much just the opposite, but with the hourly server, right, you're not gonna do as well on restocks, like I said, because you're gonna have a hard time really getting the bot set up and ready to roll. You can't have your automations ready to roll because the server's not running, right? You're not gonna have your bot on a server that's not running, pick anything up. So that's obviously a negative, but again, if you really are just getting into this, the hourly server is the move because that's where you're gonna learn how to hit a drop. Restocks can be a little harder. You've gotta know how to navigate Discord, get the quick tasks in. So it can be hard, but again, with the hourly server, this is where you should start off if you're getting your first server because the cost is low and you don't have to put all that money up front. Now, I can't quite remember if I've said this already in this video, so sorry, but I need to say this multiple times. If you are using an hourly server, you need to be extremely cognizant of the fact that you need to turn this thing off. Now, what do I mean by that? I've heard horror stories of people having an AWS server, right? An hourly server that they fire up for a drop. And let's say, they set up the night before for a couple hours. They wake up the next morning, they set up for 3 hours, and then they go through the 2 hours of a drop. I can attest to this, and I'm sure many of you know this. After that, I'm smoked for the day, man. I can't do anything that requires any real brain power because I've just been staring at very, very detailed things on the computer for hours. Right? I understand that you kind of get lost after it and kind of crash. Everybody talks about that post-nap. I don't do that. I try to sleep at night, but whatever, that's irrelevant. I can understand how it happens, but people will just leave the server on. Let's say it's Saturday, and then Monday or Tuesday, they'll realize that they left the server running for 48 hours. That's gonna run you up a pretty big bill, right? I've seen people that have left them running for a week or so and have had thousands of dollars of bills with AWS. And you can't call them and say, I didn't do that. Yeah, you did. You forgot to turn it off. So again, I'm gonna stress this a lot in the video tutorial that I show. You need to turn off your server when you are done with it. Now, this is obviously a big issue if you're just starting off, right? Let's say you saved up $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to start trying to bot. This mistake is game over, right? So I think the worst I've done this is I've probably left one running for like 5 hours. But again, it's something that you need to have an alarm set for. You need to put in your routines or your habits that you need to check that this thing is turned off when you're done with it. So just wrapping that section up, personally, I do still use my 24/7 server, and I also use hourly AWS servers. I use them in the fashion that I just outlined, right? With my hourly servers, I'm using those for drops that I know are coming up and I have time to set up. And then with my 24/7 server, I'm really using that to have my automations and my restocks ready to go whenever they happen. Now we'll get into how and some of the purchasing options that you do have when getting your first SneakerBot server. As always, I'm very upfront with what I actually use and what works for me. The 24/7 server that I still have and I've had since day one is with 10X. I think over the last 3 years, there's been one drop when they weren't working. So obviously that was not a fun morning, but in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty awesome. So they've been outstanding for me. And then for my hourly servers, like I've said, I use AWS. I started off using Google Cloud initially because I had some free credits, but I didn't, maybe it was more me at the time, but then I switched to AWS. I think it may have just had more to do with the fact that I had improved, but that is what I'm using now. So for the 24/7 server, I'm using 10X, and then for my hourlies, I use AWS. There are many options for 24/7 servers. If you go on Cop Supply, there's a bunch of options there, and if you're in any cook groups, they likely have group buys for other servers. I can't speak to any of them because, like I said, I've used 10X and I will vouch for them. If you are looking for a 24/7 server, look at 10X servers. Great product, very responsive team on Discord, and like I said, the uptime for them has been outstanding over the past 3 years. Out of the hundreds of drops that have happened, it's only had one time when it wasn't up and running. So like I said, that's pretty outstanding in the grand scheme of things. As far as my hourly servers go, like I said, I use AWS. You could use Vultr, you could use Google Cloud Services, you could use Microsoft Azure. Those are all very reputable products that work, but like I said, I try to stick to what I use and what I have anecdotal evidence on that works. And for me, that's AWS, so I would highly recommend that, and that really is where I would have most of you start off when getting your first server. All right, so now that we've gone over all of that, I'm now gonna get into how to actually set up your AWS server on screen. The first thing that you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to make an account with AWS, so that's not your Amazon account. You're gonna need to go to AWS and you're gonna need to make an account. From there, you're just gonna follow the steps on screen that I show now. I do remember that this took me 20, 30 minutes the first time I did it because I had to watch everything on screen, pause it, look for it, and do it. I'm gonna be honest, that's pretty normal, right? It should take you a good amount to do this for the first time because you really have no clue what you're doing. I will say though, that now that I've done this many times, it takes me a couple minutes to set up a server. So don't think that just because this takes you hours the first time, that's how it always is. This is a very easy process once you kind of learn what you're doing and know what to look for. So that's all for this portion of the video. If you have any questions about what you see in the coming footage, just leave it in the comments below and I'll get back to it as quickly as possible. It's pretty straightforward, but just know that, like I said, this is gonna get easier and easier as you do this more. And just check back in a couple days. I've got some good live cops that I've had filmed. I just need to put together and post. And we've obviously got some big drops coming up for the rest of this month. So just check back in a couple days and enjoy the footage. Okay, so here today, I'm just giving you a quick rundown on how to do this. If this is your first time, I want to start off by saying this really freaked me out and I was very hesitant to be doing this the first time I ever did this a couple years ago, but this really is a very easy and straightforward process. So don't stress about this. It's very easy to do. It might take you a little while the first time you do it, but I promise you that you'll be able to set up a server within a couple minutes once you've done this a couple times. So first, if you are making an account, right, all of this is there's nothing gonna be going on here. It's just gonna be zeros. So you're gonna go to launch instance. All right, from there, I select, and most people I see select, is 2019 base. I'm gonna be honest with you, I always am. I can't tell you the difference between a lot of these. You have a lot of options, but I can tell you what works and what has worked for me and other people I know, and that would be this one right here. If any of you would like to enlighten me on how I could use a better one, I'm always open to learning. I do not think I know everything by a long shot, so let me know. But for today's, we are going to select there. Now, when you get to this page, right, you start off at the top. These are all the different types you can pick. Typically, I'm picking from this category right here. all right, C4 down through here. These are obviously different size servers, right? This is the smallest one in this category. This is the largest one. I typically use around right there, maybe this, just because I want to be able to run 2 bots on there very easily without having any lag. So these are all within a couple dollars an hour, which is a very reasonable price. As long as, key thing here, and I'm going to mention this multiple times, you need to remember to shut down your server when you are done with it. You are getting charged by the hour, and I've seen horror stories of people leaving their server on and they forget to stop, after a drop, and they, leave it on for the weekend, and they end up getting a bill for a couple $100 because their server's just been humming along. So I've luckily only done that for a couple hours at max, so just really try to be cognizant and aware of that, because it really can run up a bill. And I mean, you can't call them and be like, oh, I didn't mean to. It's not fraud or anything. You're just not an idiot, but you did something stupid. So just please try to remember that. I'll remind you at the end of the video, but here you're basically selecting the size of your server, right? You've got your CPUs, memory, and we're right in this C4 area. So I'm just gonna pick this one for today. These are more than enough to run a bot on, but it depends what you're really using it for and how much you plan on loading it up. So then we'll go to review and launch. We do not need to do anything here. We can just leave this as is, and then we're gonna go to launch. Now, when we do this, right, you're gonna need to create a new pair, okay? Leave RSA and then name it like, I don't know, temp profile pair. Okay, now, from there, right, you're gonna go to download, and you can't see my whole screen, but you see down here it kind of popped up as a download. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open that up, and I'm gonna block some of this out. All right, but basically I've got a notepad up that's got the entire file on it. This is part of it. From there, you're just gonna save it, right? So you need to make a folder. I have a folder on my desktop that just has all my server key pairs in it, and I just put them all there, very easy to find. But you're gonna go up to the top of it, which you can't see, and you're just gonna go File and Save As. And then I'm gonna go to my folder on my desktop and right here, all right? I'm gonna save. Done. All right, I can X out of this. I've got it saved where I know where I can find it. Do not lose that. And then from there, you're just gonna go to launch. All right, now it's gonna take, I think it says like 3 to 5 minutes. It has to get fired up. All right, after that, you're just gonna hit view instances. So I'll click this. And then after the couple minutes the server is fired up, we'll be right back. Now, we've got this up here, right? It's up, it says it's running, initializing. All right, so from there, I'm just gonna go here. It has already started because I just made it. Typically, you're gonna have to come here and hit start. If it hasn't, let's say that you started it up, you shut it down. Typically, you'd have to click on it. You're gonna go here, start, and it'll start. From there, you're gonna go to connect. All right, so I'm gonna get here, and you're gonna download the remote desktop file. All right, so I click this. You can see at the bottom, it pops up. All right, then I'm gonna say get password. Or I'm not gonna say get password, I'm not a freaking genie, but I'm gonna click get password. From here, I'm gonna choose the file type, right? You can see I've got a bunch of these, but right there, I'm gonna click that and hit decrypt password. Now it's gonna give me my password right here. All you need to do is hit copy to clipboard. You're gonna go down, you're gonna click on your instance. It's gonna ask you to connect. Then it's gonna ask you for your password. Paste the password, and you should be in. Now, I need to move this window, just hold on one second. All right, and here we are. So, from here, let me get this right. All right, now, as you can see, like I said, I'm not the #1 computer person in the world, but you're gonna go to the bottom and you're gonna hit search, and you're gonna type in server manager. Computer's running a little slow. It'll come along, give it a second. And you've really only got like one more thing to do, and that is to turn off one of these security functions. So I'm lagging a little bit here. Let's see. All right, got it to work. All right, so where am I at? Server manager, right? Click on that, and it is going to pop up. All right, now from here, right, all you got to do is click on this, local server. Let me see if I can. There we go. Move on over to here, and all I'm going to do is go to Enhanced Security Configuration. I'm going to click Off, save it, and then if I refreshed, that would pop up as off, right? So if I just went over here, click there, and I scroll back over, it's off, right? You need to do that just so you can download your bots, profiles, whatever you may be doing, but that is really it. Right, so within that, I mean, I can, once I'm done in here now, I can just X out of this, right? Yeah, server manager, yeah. Just X out, and you're done. The one thing I would probably suggest from there is to download Google Chrome so you don't have to use Internet Explorer. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, but from there, you're pretty much done. Now, I'm gonna just minimize it. I'll show you how to close them out. All you're gonna do is you're gonna select it, you're gonna go to Actions, you're gonna go to Stop, and you're going to hit yes. All right, again, I can't stress enough how important this is. You need to do this or you're going to run up bills that you didn't get anything from and are just going to start to hurt your bottom line. So yes, stop. If the window is still up, the window would just kind of disappear and we're good to go. So if I were to refresh this, all right, it's stopping. And if you just give it a second, I'll refresh one more time. Hold on. Give it a second. Refresh. Voila. All right. So again, very simple. Like I said, not necessarily the highest tech video, but it does go over everything you need to know. So that's how you would start one up. You can obviously make more than one. I have several of them. But that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward. I understand that this can be a little intimidating the first time you do it, but it really is a very straightforward process. So hopefully that was helpful. Sorry I haven't been getting as many videos up lately as I had been, but I am going to be on a tear coming up. So I will try to get these up more recently. And until I see you all next time, have a good one.